Okay, ready to go? Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Don't Speak on It, the podcast that keeps you energized, informed, and empowered. I am Slaheoldine.
And I'm Theresa.
And today you may notice that there is not just two of us. There are, in fact, three of us, three ladies pretty in pink. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you to our guest, our very, very first guest, Lily Mensa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. First, I feel honored to be asked to be the person that starts this whole thing as being, your first guest. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we're super excited for the conversation that we're going to get into today. Want to learn so much about you as a person, your career, but not only that, what you're doing to help others, because I know you do a lot of work with lots of people in so many different places, and I think what you're doing is very relevant as well to what people are trying to achieve. So it's very on trend or on brand, which is kind of basically what you do.
Use that word. I love it.
So just a little quick intro on Lily Mensa, those who haven't met you before. So Lily Mensa is the quirky host and branding maven. So Lily has worked for over 15 years with corporate and non-profit organizations from Accra and Ghana to London to Florida's Space Coast. Lily has learned that being quirky is actually a very good thing. And this has allowed Lily to use her entrepreneurial flair for socially conscious initiatives that make a positive contribution to clients and to society. And Lily has a really fun mantra that says, just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean that it can't be done. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So Lily, Tell us just a little bit about yourself. Just, I don't know, a brief intro other than that amazing intro that we've just done for you. Just tell us a little bit something about Lily and who you are.
Lily is that person, like you said, who says if this has not been done before, doesn't mean that it can't be done. And I'm an event host. I started my career as a speaker in various ways, and I realized that there are people like me a lot who are actually leading events, hosting events, being the compare, because a woman like me, and before, I'm not going to say my age, is not often seen there, and I'm thinking, why not? So I'm going to put myself there as an event host. And I'm going to make sure that I'm probably I will be one of the best ones, because there's nobody like me. I'll always do me. And only another mantra I say, only you can do you flawlessly. Nobody can do you because everybody else is taken. So that's me. And branding has also been the backdrop of everything I do, because having a strong brand means that you can change careers, you can change up, change down, because you're only doing what sits with your soul. And again, if you don't know who you are and you haven't crafted a brand around the you that is going out there, you're sort of always wondering, am I good enough? But of course we're all good enough. We're fabulous. Let's agree that, and let's just step out.
We were created that way.
We were created that way, and I think sometimes we ask for permission to do stuff because we haven't crafted that. We haven't found what's quirky about us.
Yes,
how to use that. So, yes, that's Lily. I'm a mom of 3 and a grandma to 4. Wow. And all of that. So yes, don't be fooled by the good looks. Lots of experience. So that's Lily.
Excellent. So Theresa, go ahead. I don't know if you have any burning questions.
Well, I'm not a grandma yet, thank God. But so my 26-year-old, he don't need anyone any right now. But yeah, when I read and I'm quirky myself, and I believe in being me. You accept me for who I am. Some people don't accept me because I'm just vibrant. I go to places. I don't care. I just, I talk to people. I'm very, you laughing.
I know you.
I'm very just straight up, just out there sometimes. And that's just me. But I read this book called The Startup of You, and it's the creators of LinkedIn, so the co-founders of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And the book is all about branding, and
Mm.
it's about branding yourself compared to branding your company. So what advice would you give someone who's a professional or who has a company, and they're branding their organization instead of their self? What advice would you give them?
I think the first thing would be people by people.
Yeah.
So you as the business owner, you as the entrepreneur, you as the professional who is sitting in that boardroom or who's sitting outside of that boardroom, probably if you haven't branded yourself, you're likely to be sitting outside of that boardroom because you the people feel you haven't earned it. Is to understand that you will always have to lead the conversation around what you bring to the table. Nobody's going to ask you to come on unless you say you actually not force yourself, but gently advise them as to the quirkiness of what you bring to the table. So understanding that people by people,
Yeah.
understanding where you've come from, your backstory is also quite important.
Mm-hmm.
And not, if everybody was to do the same thing, it would be so boring.
Of course.
And I think people tend to think that who you know, it's all that matters, but it's what people know about you and how that can serve them. It's what people have to start to understand. What do people know about me, and how can my skills, my backstory, even my energy, how can that serve them? It's not about you anymore. It's how you can serve other people. So understanding that people by people.
So do you have any tips about the way that people can get their story across? How can they tell their story? And what are some of the tips and secrets that you have used in the past?
I'd say speaking out, speaking your truth. If you're a professional, a lot of professionals tend not to want to speak. I think that's wrong. Outside the organization, find opportunities for people to hear your story outside of the organization. Obviously, if the organization is organizing some, they'll always invite the CEO to come and speak, and you always hear that person's voice. They don't invite the person who is not in that corner office to speak, and that person could bring so much. So find opportunities to speak outside your 9 to 5, whether it's your business or your profession. So speaking is one. Networking, I cannot tell you. Get ready, put your frocks on and go networking. That is the number. And when you go networking, don't stand in the corner and be chatting to your friends. You can do that in the pub. You can do that in the wine bar. You can do that at prep, right?
You can catch up on the phone.
Yeah. So when you go networking and you go with your friends, you go with your colleagues, just say, I'll catch up with you at the end. And get to know the people in the room. So networking, speaking, I would say those are the first 2 tips. Also, what can I add to that? People fear LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn is that gift that can give you that space to be different from what your 9 to 5 says. LinkedIn has no real rules. Some people say, oh, you can't share your personal stories there. I say,
exactly. I do.
To that. Just do you and what feeds your soul. So LinkedIn is a professional networking organization. That's what it is. That's what it's there for. So use LinkedIn, do some speaking, and of course, networking in the flesh or on Zoom.
But like you said, people really want to know who you are as a person. And the only way to let them know is to kind of let them into your life. We're in a place where social media is big, and like you said, they buy from you. They're not buying they're buying from your personality and who you are. And people sometimes are scared to I know people personally who don't really show their face on LinkedIn. No videos, no photos of themselves, just,
Yeah.
That you're not really selling yourself when you do that, are you?
No, you're not. In fact, yesterday I went to Black on the Square, and a typical example of somebody just being herself is MP Dawn Butler. She rocked up, she was talking to everybody, and being very gracious, allowing us to take selfies with her. And then, okay, this might sound very political, even though they're on the same party. Sadiq Khan came, and he had like 10 million bodyguards with him. Nobody could get near him. And then he stopped to take a picture with a mum and a baby. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
And then he just rushed off.
Yeah.
Dawn Butler waited, left the VIP space, went into where the real dancing was, and somebody started putting some girls together to do the electric shuffle. And of course, and I rocked up and we were dancing. She was doing the steps with us.
Yeah.
That is what people buy into. The real
personality self. Yes.
was open. She was chatting. And I was surprised she just, came and joined us to do the electric shuffle. I was like, God, you're such a blessing to the community.
Yeah.
And a classic example.
She has your vote, huh?
Absolutely.
She has everyone else's. Isn't that
right? I'd vote for her.
Yes.
And they have to, it's about, when it comes to obviously politics, it's about them reaching out to their constituents and being with their constituents, not just as a photo opportunity, but also really connecting with people so that people can understand them as a person, because, that they're so unrelatable. Let's be honest, they're unrelatable to the people who are to be voting for them. So they need to work on being relatable, being understood by the people who will be voting for them, and that way that they can have more people that will want to vote, will understand the policy that they're trying to put forward, but I don't think necessarily they do enough of that people work, and so kind of on a different pedestal, and so there's that disparity, and that's why people kind of don't really want to vote, don't really have a good relationship with
it's not about photo
and all of that sort of stuff.
It's all about photo ops, isn't it? And then people can tell when you're not genuine. They can tell. So that's not good. Every time there's not Theresa May, but the last Liz, she took so many photos, and if you was on her Twitter, people were saying, why don't you get to work and stop taking these photos, please? And they were so upset because they knew it was just her trying to look busy, her trying to look important, and that's the thing. Not only with branding, you need to relate to people, become relatable, personable, don't you, in a certain aspect?
Yes. Also, another example, maybe yesterday was a big example of meeting people who I thought, oh, yes, there was a young lady that I had met on LinkedIn. I had met on Zoom during the pandemic. Then I bumped into her, and then she had her book with her. And she was carrying a book, and we did take photos with her book. But writing a book makes you the expert on a particular subject. And so if you have the time and writing articles. My book started its life as an article on LinkedIn.
Wow.
That's what I was going to say, actually. I was going to say, you've written a book and you've nicely slid it in there, and it's called Work Your Quirks. There we go. And tell us a bit about the book, because obviously when people think about personal branding, I think people do tend to go to the social media stuff and the influencers thing and all of that. And I think it's become so saturated. There's almost that the lack of distinction between the two. And then I think people kind of almost get put off by selling themselves, branding themselves. It's so saturated in terms of social media. But what you're saying is that personal branding is more than social media. It's more than photos. It's more than blog. It's looking at you as an individual and your quirkiness. Because as Theresa said, she's quirky. I'm quirky. That's why we do our little podcast together, because we're just strange, weird people, and we love it, you know. And people love our weirdness, and so this is perfect for us, you know. You know, so tell us a bit more about the book. What inspired it, and tell us what really is personal branding.
Let me go back to the idea of personal branding itself. When I started my business a couple of decades ago, or nearly that, I was advising business owners on marketing, because marketing was where my story started. And the more I was advising them on what to do, they'd turn up and they just did not look right. They didn't speak. I'm not saying everybody has their own way, but they were not very well put together to present their products and services according to, you know, what I felt would help them. And there was always that hesitancy on putting themselves out, because I'm only selling a widget. I'm selling a pair of glasses. What would I have to say about me that will sell the glasses? So it was about coaching them, educating them about the fact that as a small business, you are your own billboard.
Yeah.
And you should be able to sell you before you can sell. People have to buy into you before you can sell your widget or your glasses. So I started to research I didn't even know what it was called then. I started to research what branding your business and branding yourself would be like. And all I could find was image consulting as the answer to personal branding. And I knew that it wasn't it. And I didn't even know like I said, I didn't know what it was called. So I went to find out, I did some research, and then I found a guy called William Maruda, who had, again, started his life as a marketing person in some really, really big organization. My marketing career started with Arthur Andersen many, many moons ago. So we had similar backgrounds of looking at it from a marketing strategy perspective. So personal branding has a strategy behind it when you look at it. So when I work with my clients, they end up with a marketing strategy, and then they decide whether they'll hire me to do the implementation for them. So that's how it happened. I got coached by William Maruda, who's like the godfather of personal branding, and a few other people qualified. I think I was one of his first cohorts of people who were coached by him. And so I had to learn the hard way. And 10 years ago, lots and lots of things going on. Everybody said personal brand, and I could tell that they were still doing the wardrobe stuff and stuff but I knew that there was a book in me. So I put an article out on LinkedIn 2016, no, maybe 2015, a while back, 8 years ago. And then when I was going to write the book, my book coach said to me, "What do you want to write about?" I said, "I want to write about personal branding." So what have you written before? So I peeled the contents of my LinkedIn article, and then became the title of the book. So if you go, I'll have to find it for you. You can put in the link when you share, when the podcast is shared. But the Quirks is one person that needs to have an acronym. So there is some order in that madness. So Quirks means quality. The Q is for quality. Everything have quality attached to it. It has to be unique, because none of the fingers are the same. You have to be unique in what you deliver. You have to have some integrity as well. Not some, a lot of integrity. Unless you're a big brand that has a lot of money to throw at, to take away those blemishes. Realistic with your resources is there are, and because you can't say, so today for instance, I'm supposed to go to a barbecue today, but I'm so tired. I know I have to stay put and not do other things. So I send my apologies ahead. But you have to be realistic of your resources that you have. And some of that is time. And then be kind to yourself. There are 3 gorgeous women on the screen, me included. I told you I like to say I'm that person. I'm quirky. 3 gorgeous women on the screen. But I bet all 3 of you tend to say yes to a lot of things, and then we're overstretched.
Yes, I don't say yes. I don't say yes to stuff because I read a book. It's by Greg McGowan or something like that. Anyway, he talks about time management and saying no so that you can say yes to the things that's important.
Okay.
So I don't say yes to everything. Everything has to be scheduled in. And I'm real funny about my time. If I have to do something, I say no. No hanging out, no nothing. And one of the examples he said is that if he allowed people to pull him in different directions when he was writing his book, he would never written his book. And that book made him an international author. And he's British, and he's now in the US, living in California, helping large corporations. You see? But he would have never got there if he allowed people to pull him, because they were like, come on out for a drink, do this, let's go out, let's hang out. No, priorities come first. Sorry.
You know, sometimes, but Theresa, you know, sometimes it's not always the social yeses, it's the business yeses. And I can say that I'm always like, yes, opportunities, and then, you know, see where they fall, see where the chips lay, right? But you know, sometimes when you're so ambitious, and then, like, you know, when momentum starts building on whatever it is that you're doing, you start to see opportunities here. And like, you know, like where I met you, Lily, you know, after that, obviously I was speaking on the panel, and you go to an event like that, and when you're spotlighted, you know, in front of the crowd, you know, everyone comes to you. So you've got this list of people to reach out to, and then it connected you on LinkedIn, and then you've got to reach out to all of them to say, you know, lovely to meet you, you know, be good to catch up. And that's what so I did that.
Good to catch up.
Listen, well, I did that. That's the thing. I did that, and then I was like, I thought, oh yeah, people won't like come back to me straight away, and literally like most of them came back, and I was like, I can't even deal with all the responses. And then I had another speaking event. I was on the panel the Monday, and then the same thing, and I didn't even attempt to. I just added them, and I found myself being overwhelmed, because again, when you want to do good work and you want to connect with people and you want to make a difference, you do find yourself, as you said, over exerting your energy and over you know, committing yourself, because you're so driven, and it all aligns with your goals. But as you say, you have to pick and choose what's right, and it is really hard when you're a very driven and ambitious person, and you know, you see opportunities, but it's getting that fine balance. And I'm definitely getting better at it, but you know, it's very easy to do.
It's I just think that we have to be kind to ourselves. Sometimes there's that guilt thing, if to turn people down. But if you turn people down, you're saying yes to yourself. You're not saying yes to yourself. And there are times that we literally have to sit down and say, I'm not answering the phone. Or I put mine on airplane mode. So if you call me, and my phone is disconnected, it's not because I've lost power. It's because I am taking a break to enjoy some music and kick back and just watch TV. And I don't know how old you ladies are, but things like Golden Girls, I've just found it. And it's like, I love Blanche. I love the old lady. Oh, she's so rude.
Oh, it's so funny. They're a funny bunch. I like the old lady.
Herself. Dorothy's mom. So
I like her. She's so funny. She tells people off. I love it.
I so these are my things that I escape to if I just want to. So finding how to escape. Not even escape, but finding time for you without any apology. And you have to unplug. Because another reason why I put my airplane mode on, it means I can't go on social and checking every other people's Instagram.
Exactly.
I've got myself out.
Yeah.
So so that's
It's
my
so true.
thing.
Very true. And it's true. Again, I feel bad. I felt less bad recently because there's times where, as I said, it's become so overwhelming. I've had to take a break. I mean, like I said, I've even my dad has had to tell me that take a break from this week. And and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And so I've taken a break, and then, but I have this the guilt, because I'm like, people are messaging me, they want my help, they want to reach out, and then now I do sort of create a bit of a lag time between responding to messages now, because it's people hit me up on WhatsApp and I feel like, oh my god, I've not responded, and
no.
I'm getting more comfortable in that space. But
WhatsApp has created that thing where you have to answer, or people get a bit funny, or you feel guilty. And I went through a patch, right, where I put my notification on, you can't see whether I've seen it or not. I went through that patch. Who's done that?
I've done it. Yeah, I don't have a read receipts on my Apple.
You know what? I put it back on, and I now answer when I want to.
When you want to.
Yeah.
People have to understand that I have a life. I'm living my day long before your WhatsApp arrived.
Yeah.
What gives you the right to expect me to stop everything and respond to just yours?
Yeah.
So now you can see my double blue tick. Very proud of it. But I'm training people. I will read it and get back to you when I can. No apologies. How about that?
So that's good. So I have another question about, what advice would you give people as far as like dealing with algorithms, or getting their content seen? What advice would you give people?
Content seen on LinkedIn or
just in any.
I know that if you post things, I don't know whether they've changed it or not, but what I realized based on my activity is that if you post something and you just let it sit there, it will sit there. You have to feed that post. Even for the first half an hour or so, get some engagement, even if it's just yourself. You can post underneath it something else so that it wakes it up, or it tells the thing that does the thing, algorithm, if you will, that somebody is responding. So you have to feed it somehow before it wakes up. So you can't just be posting things and expecting it to take a life of its own. If you tag people, if people don't respond, or people are also getting on with their lives and they don't respond, then the algorithms will go down. But I'm excited about AI though, talking about technology.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about AI because I don't believe that it will take away our jobs.
No.
If we're well branded.
Yeah. So we covered this in our last one of our podcasts. We covered AI. Yeah. So you have to catch it. You have to have watch it. And we did cover this, and we tried to ease people's worries as far as AI taking over their job or doing things, because AI is AI, but AI, and we always say this, it can't trump creativity, and your brand is your creation, isn't it? So
absolutely.
And so absolutely, what you said, AI is not going to take over the world.
Especially if you've created a strong brand where people will always remember you, and AI can do certain things that we can do a lot easier, but we then become the icing on the cake. We can all make plain Madeira cake, but then everybody can make that. AI can make that too if you put it in the machine. But what is the icing is not made. It will have to be made by hands, and that's what AI does for us. And that's what the personal brand that's for us in terms of this a fear of AI. If your personal brand is strong enough,
Yeah.
you're cool.
What advice would you give people that's scared to put their photos out, to take pictures, to do videos? What advice would you give them? Because, that's very important.
Yeah.
The videos and showing who you are is part of it. So, and a lot of people fear, they don't like photos. They don't want their photos out. And if it do you think that let's ask you a question as well. Do you think that people can build a strong personal brand without showing themselves? Because I've heard of people even starting a business and on their website saying, for the first year or so, they didn't want to use their photo on their website because they didn't want people to know who they were, whether it was for the reason of them being of a certain race or ethnicity and things of that sort. What is your advice on that?
Very, very simple. Get over yourself.
Yes, I love it.
Just get over yourself. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Because people want to engage with a person, always going back to people wanting to buy people. I think it's an insecurity thing. What if I don't look? Get a professional photographer to make it look good. That's what they're there for. Get a good friend with a good camera phone who can I've been known to just put the people against the wall and take pictures of them and told them, open your LinkedIn. These are grown men. I'm able to do that with grown men too. I don't care.
Yeah.
How am I going to get to know who you are?
Yeah.
If you're hiding behind your words. Video is obviously completely different. Not everybody is comfortable. In time, people have to get comfortable with video as well. Again, I did an article, an article about the importance of being on video. Again, it's on LinkedIn. I live there, I told you. Before I did my first video, I was so petrified.
Yeah.
The words wouldn't come out right. And long before video had become the mainstay of social media, I did my first proper video. I had to hire a videographer to get my right side and everything done. However, once I posted it, and for people, the advice for people who don't want to put their mug shots or their videos on, once I posted it, a lot of people have seen my photos. They'd never seen me speak before. I got so much engagement that they saw me in a different light. They heard my voice. They felt the warmth. They would see the smile all the time, but they didn't realize that the smile was actually coming from my heart. And I got a lot of, they saw the humanity, the human person behind the picture. So the photo will get you one step further, but a video will tell 1,000 stories. Your body language, your voice itself. People didn't think I could speak properly. Look at me. They saw a certain person,
right?
Assumed about them.
Yeah,
I do think that I speak proper.
You do. Absolutely. One question I was going to say, because I think people might associate personal branding with having your own business, but that's how important is it to have a personal brand being an employee in a company, and what are some of the benefits of developing a personal brand in a company? How does it work in that sort of scenario?
In order to be recognized in the company for going that extra mile, they always encourage you to take on volunteer roles and stuff like grab them. Don't just come and do your 9 to 5 and go home, or 9 to 5 via the Crown and Horses. Volunteer for events within the organization that will bring your profile up. Again, speaking outside of, let people know what you're passionate about. Let people know what you're passionate about. So if you're an accountant, do you like football, going to the game? everybody, when I was in corporate, everybody knows or knew that I was an Arsenal supporter. There were days that I'll come in.
Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go to the game.
Yeah.
I'll come in the next day and be shouting. So let people know what your passions are.
Mm.
Do I look like a football supporter on a regular day? Of course not.
Mm.
But then that is, you can have a chat
Yeah.
with the senior vice president, who is an Arsenal supporter.
That's if he is, because sometimes me coming from HR, sometimes that'll backfire too.
I have had conversations about Arsenal with an SVP of an organization where normally there'll be no opening.
Ground, yeah.
And because I knew he was an Arsenal supporter,
Yeah.
it was very easy
Yeah.
to get that in.
Yeah.
Finding things that the commonality within different subgroups can get you in further, and people get to know more. You could be a football coach. I'm talking about football because football coach and all of that. You are able to bring a lot out of people. That means managing people. You can't be a coach and not be able to manage people.
Yeah.
You may not think that those things are important for being a manager, but people need to see other things that show that you've got the potential to lead people, because leadership, we all know, is not about title.
So one thing, when I was in HR, they talked about people who go into interviews, sometimes to interview that person, to research that person that's interviewing and see if there's some common ground. So that will tell you whether if that person is not an Arsenal supporter, then it's best not to mention your favorite team is Arsenal or whatnot. But again, you can discuss football, and you can still talk about
I disagree, actually. I disagree. Yeah.
People have been denied jobs just because of their team, or taken on just because they support the same team. So, and some not. It depends on how passionate the person is.
You probably wouldn't have fit in anyway. So God took you out of that place by saying that you're a Tottenham supporter when you're talking to the Arsenal. So Tottenham and Arsenal don't agree. Spurs and Arsenal don't agree. then that means that I always say that if there's something very tiny, it's giving us a reason why you didn't get that job. They would have created bigger problems for you anyway.
Yeah. But it happens all the time. People have biases and it could come from anywhere. So, yeah.
So back to your question about photos on your profile and not wanting your photo to be on your profile. It could also be if you put your picture of your photo on your LinkedIn profile, it could be a way of taking the people who you wouldn't get on with out.
Yeah.
Or filter them out so that you don't even have to engage with them.
Oh. Yeah. So you want genuine supporters. You don't want you want genuine people. You want to create your own tribe, the people who want to be involved with you. That's how I feel. I want the people who's going to support me, who wants to be involved with me, who likes me for who I am, not the people who want to lurk and hate on in a different way. But I want those genuine people for me.
Exactly.
So you like it, you don't. Some people unfollow you just because you say one thing, and that's okay.
Yeah, but do you know what? People who don't like you are probably just friends in waiting. That's what I think.
Generally, they're the ones that you end up being best friends with. The ones that you're your arch enemy when you first arrive, and then you end up being like best mates because you're very, very similar. I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about an employee thing and showing up yourself, your outside of work self, inside of work. And I didn't appreciate that so much before as I did now. I used to always want to keep my personal life separate and my work life separate, and I was always felt like this undercover superhero, didn't want anybody to know
work, right?
My stuff. And it wasn't like it was bad stuff, it was great stuff that I was doing. I was running classes, and I was doing my martial arts, but I think because it was an issue of myself, of an insecurity of being put on the spot, I didn't like being center of attention where it would make other people feel uncomfortable or feel less than, and that's a social anxiety thing that I have. And so because I had that personal issue, I wanted to kind of keep it quiet, play myself down, dim my shine. And I've been told this many a times, and this is things that I've learned about myself over the last 5-7 years. And that was one of the reasons why I kept it quiet, and I never wanted to mix the two, because I always felt like they were separate things. Then as I started moving more into the corporate world, I had bosses of mine who would shout it from the rooftops. We'd get on a Zoom call with clients or consultants, and they'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, she's the Muay Thai champion. And I'm like, oh gosh. And then we go on for 10 minutes talking about it. But then we built that relationship. And because people were throwing me into that fire, I started getting known, I started getting opportunities, I started getting seen, I started getting respected, and also, like you said, seeing the different skills that are transferable into the work. And I started, and people just really enjoyed talking to me about it. And so now I'm less like that. I kind of do mix my things and try to embrace it. I still have a bit of that social anxiety thing. And that's the thing, if people do suffer from different different things like that can also hinder the ability to be able to build your personal brand. But again, it's about trying to overcome those personal things first, and then I guess building on top of it, right?
But then that makes you, the thing is, hiding all of that makes you a regular Joe. But doing other things makes you more interesting. Then I'm sure half the time when you have business meetings in corporate, wherever you have them, some of the decisions would have been made already, and you're just there to sort of add to it. And something about you can change the direction only mildly, because you said something different and they've had to think about it. So if you go back to the lady or anybody who you said because of race would not want to put their photo up. If you're going to an organization that has a race issue, would you really want to be there?
No, and see, that's what she has her own business, and I think she was in like the medical field, and she said for a long time she did not put her photo on the website because she just didn't feel comfortable and want people to know who she really was. And it had a lot to do with maybe are they gonna, not give me business because of my race and things of that sort. So I found that I put my picture on the website, from jump, but that's just who I am. And some people prefer not to.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot, in my organization, DDG. I have so many people who have their own businesses, and they say and it's specifically the Black owned businesses, is that they don't want to be known as a Black owned business because they want to be taken seriously in the field they're in construction, right? But it's not a very it is an ethnically diverse industry, but not on the face of it, that where it is at the top where the money's being made, it's not ethnically diverse. So because they want to work with those big players, they feel like, as Theresa said, they're not going to be taken seriously. They don't feel like they're going to be seen as credible or having the right expertise. So they actually feel like it's going to hinder their business. And a lot of people have said that to me, and I say do it anyway. But from your perspective, if they were coming to you,
if you don't put the picture on, the photo on, they're going to see something different. And then you turn up and you waste your time. They're still going to turn you down. So I say it'll filter the hate. He will filter the haters, and you only want love around you. Really.
I had this similar conversation because one guy was saying, take the names off the CV, and this is going back to HR, but not to go off topic. But I said that's not going to work because I have an Irish name. Kasim is my married name. I have an Irish name, which is Thompson. Okay. That name, even when I was in the US, my corporate voice is totally different. And I'm like, thank you for calling, it goes on. So when I talk to corporate and my CV, my name look a certain way, my CV look a certain way. I got into an architectural firm one time, And the first thing they said, "Oh, you look nothing. You're not what I thought I was. You look nothing like I thought you would look, you know." So then you start getting the microaggressions and stuff like that. I got there. They put me in the mail room. They didn't even put me in to do the job. They just instantly put me in the mail room with all the other Black people. Okay. So my thing is, even hiding your name on your CV, you still, once you get to the interview stage, like you said, it will still go south.
Yeah.
You know, whether you get to the job, it will still go south. So I'm like, you know, it's like you said, it's best to just weed out that.
But then some people feel like also they do, so even if they don't have to turn up to, say they've got a business where they have subcontractors or whatever, and they employ different people, and they sort of hide the owner of the business, and they'll have stock photos, you know, on their website of the team to make it look like a different facing, or, you know, a larger company. But how? So if, say for example, you say, look, okay, put your face. It's a business that happens to be owned by a Black person or whatever. But then if they are getting prejudged, and they're not getting, I guess it's a separate issue, right? If they're getting prejudged and they're not getting the projects that they're looking for, or the money that they're trying to raise, then that's a different issue that needs to be tackled, right? It's not going to change irrespective of whether they put the photo or not, because if that company or industry's got an issue, that industry is always going to have an issue, right?
I think that they're slightly separate, but before you even get to bid for that contract, you would know people around. People will know of you. You'd have done your networking, your trust. You'd have done the know, like, and trust thing already. So putting that photo, it will just reinforce what people feel about you already. And if you've been networking people, your name is out there. It's just to do a little bit of background research. So the know, like, and trust needs to be done long before you get to that bid stage. And I think people I may be wrong, I'm not in the industry. I've only just met the construction people lately. Especially women in construction.
Okay.
Women build too. I just think that people might be hiding behind that. I'm not judging them, but they might be hiding behind them. And I say, show who you are, show them your heart, and those who get you will come.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think, as you say, people are hiding behind sort of that handicapped to kind of, I suppose, give validation for them not getting what they're looking for. But as you said, the work has to be done long time. Like I said, I say to my group all the time, even there's a Women in Construction Awards event happening at the end of this month, and I am trying to get the table filled of 10 people. That's not a lot, right? I've got an organization of over 150 people. I should be able to fill it very easily. Unfortunately, then I don't think people see the value in attending awards events where there are top tier construction companies, or top tier whatever companies, or Fortune 500 companies, or the networking opportunities at events like this that are specific for certain people. And maybe the price is definitely, you know, shows you the type of caliber of people. People are not seeing the benefit of this, and then they wonder why their businesses aren't being seen in the light that they want it to see. I mean, tell us just a bit more about
it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if you look at an award ceremony, it goes on for about 3 to 4 hours. Get to meet different people, they talk about different people. So I think, you know, 100 quid, 150 quid for a meal, some cheap wine, you know, normally they are. You think, oh God, but
what you know.
But it's a networking opportunity and learning from those who say, you can look at it and think, why don't I learn from those people who are there and put myself forward for next time? What's there to... So I think people need to focus on where they're going and the things that they need to do in order to get there.
I agree. Me entering the construction industry, it hasn't been easy for me. I've told Slaheoldine that I've been to construction events, and the women wouldn't even speak to me, but the men I get along with, but I focus on them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you don't speak to me, I don't see you, and that's how I am. But at the end of the day, now that I start college for construction, and I've done a 2-week placement on site, I've I've gained like loads of, they call them blokes or whatever, guys who have stepped in and supported me, and even offered to mentor and all kinds of stuff. So that support is there. And yeah, here it is. I am who I am. And I talk about what I talk about, and I'm me.
You're right there, because people want to help.
Yeah.
Generally, people want to help, but they probably don't know how. So you have to put yourself there as somebody who needs the help. You have to ask for the help. People genuinely want to. And those who don't, those who don't speak to you in the room, well, maybe next time they will. When they see you talking to that other person, sometimes it's about, if this person thinks she's good enough, then I'm going to start liking her. I'm going to start supporting her. Yeah. So we have to stop asking for permission. We have to put ourselves there. And I always say, if you walk into a room, and I've got years of experience behind me, so I can afford to fall flat on my face. Walk into the room, you sit on a chair, you sit at the table. I dare the person standing at the door to come and say you don't belong. It's the embarrassment alone will kill them. So you're already there. Just sit there and get comfortable, baby.
Yeah, I always say, like, if I go in, I don't care who don't talk to me. I'm gonna own the room, and I don't care. So that's what I tell people: own that room.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people have an issue with.
It's about your personality, isn't it? Sorry.
No, that's it. I was just going to say, people have an issue maybe with the self-confidence thing and wanting to hide in the shadows, and it can be daunting, especially if you go by yourself. I do think going to networking events by yourself is the best thing, because as you said at the beginning, you don't kind of stick with your friend or person, you're forced to have to go and meet new people. Whereas if you go with someone or a couple of people, you kind of tend to stay with them and you don't end up actually mingling. But it does take time, I think, to build confidence in those sort of circumstances and scenarios. But like you say, the more that you do those things, put yourself in those uncomfortable, awkward positions, you get used to that discomfort, and then you get better at it. It's just like speaking, your speaking events, you do, maybe the first few times you fumble, and you said that earlier, you're like, fingers and thumbs or whatever, but you get used to it, and that's what it's about. But you've got to put yourself out there, right?
Absolutely, you have to. And being an MC and a host is sort of the last part of my long career. And now I wonder, why didn't I do that before? It's so effortless.
Yeah.
But because I've got all the material that I've learned from the fact that nobody knows what you're going to say when you get onto that stage. So don't worry about what you thought you were going to say. As long as you're not shooting off nobody would know. And I think that's what people get stuck in, that place of, I wish I'd said this, and I wish I said this is what I want. If you're engaging and your energy is engaging, nobody would know. That's one tip I'd give to speakers. Nobody would know what was on your script. It's what came out of your mouth and how you delivered it.
I heard a speaker say he don't do scripts. He just flow. When he speak, he flow off the back of just the tongue, and he reads the audience. He don't do scripts.
People just come and say, I don't do scripts and do that. I disagree on that.
Impressive.
You'd have done some research. You'd have done some prompts in his mind.
With him being a thought leader in his area, he has the experience anyway that he can speak from the heart. So he doesn't need those. I mean, he may have cue cards and say, I'm going to speak about a particular subject, but he said sometimes anything just comes up out of his mouth. You know, he don't stick to he just go with the flow and read the room.
This is for somebody who's starting out, who's trying to learn.
No, it's not.
They need that thing to support them. They don't have to have a full script, because the script can trip you up.
Yeah.
Have some pointers, have some cue cards, be able to talk around those things, and do your research around those things. But doing the free flow is for somebody who's been speaking and preferably written a book. My book helped me to crystallize my thoughts around this personal branding thing. But
now they have so many apps as far as teleprompters. I've seen teleprompter apps, so you can use your phone as a teleprompter, to be honest. So they have that, so you can, but you have to not look to the side, and you have to still engage with that audience. So
listen, it's like Lily was saying, it's about connecting with the people, though, isn't it? It's not about reading. It's about connecting with the people, isn't it? When you're an MC, you need to get the audience from the get-go, because otherwise they're not going to listen to anything you say, and you're creating the whole thing. So you've got to show your personality. You have to. But you know what? I wanted to do this public speaking course because I wanted to bring my personality out, my quirkiness outside of myself, because again, I kept it inwards. Again, I've been on like a personal journey where I've tried to rebuild myself, rebuild my true self. And so in doing that, I did that when I was like 27. I was like, right, what I'm going to do is basically put myself in the most uncomfortable positions, and then I'm going to be forced to have to like figure it out. So I was looking at a public speaking course, and I was going to go and do that, but I didn't. But what I ended up doing was, because I do poetry and stuff, I actually went and did a performance, and I basically, my poetry, again, I keep to myself, very personal stuff. I know, I'm just crazy, but I kept it to myself. I met this guy, we had this poetry show, and we got on really well, and he was like, oh, you should come and do it. And I was like, I've never spoken out my poetry to anyone. He was like, yeah. So we basically did it in front of like 100 odd people, and I recited it as well. So I learned it, committed it to memory, and delivered it. And I was nervous. I was so nervous. But when I did it, the feedback I got was so good, and I did it again. And then I did it again, and then I just became so natural. I started sharing my gifts with others and realizing how it touched other people. And then I realized how in between like perform or like pieces, I would speak to the audience, and I realized that people were just like, we just love you, we just like really like to, I was like, okay, I have this knack of connecting with people in a wide audience. And then I started, in lockdown, doing videos, and then I was doing podcasts. So I realized through putting myself out there, realizing that my quirks are okay, and me being me is accepted, and accepted by myself more so. It's again that connection with people and captivating them from the get-go. But I realized that public speaking was something that actually is really, really good for me. But unless you take yourself out of that comfort zone, you wouldn't know. But again, as you said, it's about connecting with people. There's plenty of speakers out there, but then they're not. There's good speakers and there's great speakers. And
like with everything else. But surely with your competitive, competing events, that may not be speaking, but you're still at the mercy of the public.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's some things in there that I'm sure would have helped you.
Definitely.
To in terms of your nerves, in terms of your breathing. I'm terrible with my breathing. When I need to work on that. When I get nervous, my breathing just goes
shallow.
So it's hard. Public speaking is hard for everybody. Even the most experienced people get those nerves, but it's a good thing unless it still cripples you. It's hard for everybody. Even seasoned speakers.
But some people say when they think about too much, I've heard people say when they think too much about what they're going to say, that's when they make more mistakes.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. And I realized I'm much better off the cuff. I'm better when I don't write anything down, because then you're trying to remember what you wrote, and that's even worse. Whereas if you just have the prompts, then it's a lot easier. So we're coming up to the end of our chat. So I don't know if you had any specific questions, Theresa, that you wanted to cover.
So we spoke about, those that are in employment and those that are building a business with their personal branding. As far as personal branding, and we spoke about loads about, putting yourself out there, your presence, your photos, your videos, making yourself get seen in a certain aspect, and how are you going to get seen? Do you have any other suggestions as far as the best ways, besides networking, and ways to get seen, and not just LinkedIn maybe, and things that they can do? You mentioned writing a book, doing articles, so, and websites, and so using their website. Do you have any other ways that they can get seen, besides those, for those that's not really that active on LinkedIn? What would you suggest?
Put yourself forward for an award.
That's great.
I think, I'm just
right.
Put yourself. Don't wait for someone to put. This is about. When I started again, I saw an award. Actually, met the lady yesterday at the business thing that we went to. I saw an award and I thought, but I'm feeling shy to ask people to vote for me. So I voted for myself, wrote my bio and sent it off.
Yes.
As I think it was it was around the marketing thing. I did not win. But I was shortlisted.
Oh,
then off the back of that, I went to another organization and said, look at me.
Exactly.
For that award. Look at me, aren't I great? Listen, you have to be more comfortable with saying how, what you've achieved.
Yes.
It's not just boasting, saying what you've achieved. So off the back of that, I said, look at me. And they said, she's not just a marketing person, she's been shortlisted. So we're running another awards ceremony, and we're going to we're going to invite her to put herself forward. I got put forward and I won that award. How about that?
Oh, excellent. So guys, you hear that, our listeners, put yourself forward for opportunities. No matter what it is, put yourself forward, and that's important for the listeners.
Put yourself forward, and the worst that can happen is they'll say no. But if you don't ask, the answer will always be no anyway. Yes. So why not?
So, like we said, closed mouths don't get fed and they starve. So
true.
So you have to use that mouth and put yourself out there and speak, and speak.
Talk yourself up. And I mean, personal branding is about humble bragging. Yes. Be humble with it. There's bragging, and then there's humble bragging. It's like, by the way, did you know that I've achieved that?
Yeah.
Did you know that this person recommended me? Tell your story. It's about leading the conversation about you. Once you've got all your ducks in a row, get all of that done. And then you'll be able to lead the conversation. Who are you, what you do, and how can you bring benefit to other people?
Affirmations. I found that affirmations kind of help me before I need to do something, especially when it's speaking, or I'm nervous about it. So saying I am confident, putting that confidence back into you. And it starts with me. To me, it starts with the individual.
One more tip. You have to speak in public and you're nervous. You go to the bathroom and you look in the mirror and say to that person, you are gorgeous, you're fabulous. Make sure there's no spinach in your teeth, and just go, you are going to shake that room, and then you step out. But you have to look at yourself the last time before you step out onto the stage. Make sure you go to the bathroom and give yourself a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
100%. Absolutely love that. Absolutely. Psyching yourself up.
Yeah.
So last 3 questions. They're quick ones. So favorite book and why? I'll give you all 3, and then I'll prompt you if you don't remember how they go. So favorite book and why. Okay. Best piece of advice you've ever gotten in your career, and something you wish you knew before that you know now. So first one, favorite book, or you can do any order if one comes to mind.
Favorite book, I think I have lots and lots of books because I'm an avid reader. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. I've given that book to so many people. I've started giving people links now.
Yeah,
I never get it back.
It's on YouTube now. The whole book, audio, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I need to give it, buy it, give it to people. Buy it, give it to. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
We'll add that link, and we'll add that link below for you guys.
Why is that your favorite book?
Or
one of your favorite books?
I think fear is one of those things that we actually use as a reason why we don't do things. And I think the book suggests that, why don't you just do it and see what happens? So it's just, we use fear as a crutch. And I mean, I'm sure I still do in various parts of my life, because I don't want to upset people. But my family will tell you that I'm an embarrassment sometimes. Oh God. But I think fear stops us from our promise.
Yeah.
And if we feel the fear, we do anyway. What we were promised on this God's green earth, we will get if we take fear out of the equation, because we believe we're worth something.
100%. Love that. So second question, what's the one piece of advice that you really appreciate, that you know, your best piece of advice that you've gotten in your career so far, or in your life?
In my life, it comes from my mom,
Yes.
Who says there'll always be food on the table if you share what's on your plate.
Oh, I love that.
So much to go around.
Yeah.
And if we don't share, we don't even get to taste other people's food. We just have ours. Ours could be like, fish and chips. And somebody has a nice goat carry and beans on the other side, but we just stick into our fish and chips. So there's always enough on the table for everybody. So that's from my mom.
That's great. I love it.
And then last one, what is something that you wish you knew before, but you know now?
Waiting to be taller, waiting to be prettier, waiting to be cleverer stopped me from my promise, because none of that happened. I was born as tall as I could be. I was born as pretty as I could be. And I know I'm damn clever. I just thought I could be cleverer.
Say that again.
Tall, clever, and prettier. I already am.
Yes.
I was just using that as a reason why I didn't do a lot of things. But I'm perfect in God's eyes. So that's it. That's all that matters.
I see a guitar back there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I strum every now and again. I have so many little different things, different pieces of me that maybe one day we can say, what are your hobbies, Lily? And then I can tell you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. My daughter wants to learn how to play. She's doing violin. She wants to get one for Christmas. So
it's bad for your nails. So I never really have them long. I never really, because I get told my guitar teacher tells me I'm having long nails. So
yeah.
Unfortunately,
short ones.
I love it. Thank you so much. You've dropped us some gems today.
Good.
Yes.
100%. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much as well for being the very first guest. You have done an amazing job. You've set the bar Hi.
Oh dear.
So, you know, sorry, go on.
Where can they get your book?
Amazon, you can get it on Amazon,
Okay.
and you can get it. It's on Audible. I read it myself.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I
Well
did the
done.
Audible bit because I knew that I'm an Audible fan, and a lot of people were getting the book, and they said, "Oh, and I said, I'll do an Audible for you."
Yes.
Excellent. So you got that. So it's on Audible. It is on Amazon. Where can people find you? What's your website? What's your LinkedIn?
LilyMensa.com. Simple. I'm on
Yeah.
LinkedIn as Lady Mensa. Of course, I'm a lady. Facebook as Lady Mensa. Instagram as Lady Mensa Brand.
Excellent. And we'll put all your socials in the description box as well, so that makes sure people can connect with you. I'm sure you're going to be flooded with messages and all of this.
Oh,
You've
thank
given us
you.
some amazing things to talk about today, some free gems, and absolutely, as Theresa said, and we're just so happy for you bringing your light and energy with us to our podcast. So I
Yes.
just want to say to the listeners, thank you very much for joining us on the Don't Speak On It podcast, the podcast that makes you feel energized, informed, and empowered. I am Slaheoldine.
And I'm Theresa. And remember to
Always.
be your brand and always, always speak on it.
Absolutely. And
Mensa, and remember to always speak on it.
Okay. Yeah.
that's it.